Hello, today we'll do a walk-around pre-ride inspection on motorcycles and dirt bikes. We'll use the acronym TCLOC, which stands for Tires and Wheels, Controls, Lights and Electrical, Oil and Fluids, Chassis, and Kickstand. What you want to check when you're looking for your tires is any usage in the off-road bikes. You want to look for any cracks along the sidewalls, any obvious bulges or weaknesses in the tire walls or in the tire itself. How far down the actual aggressive knobs are used down. If they're getting bald, then you might want to change, because then you're more likely to get a rock or something puncture the tire itself. On the street side, you want to make sure that you still have threading, you're not too used up on your tires, you still have something to grip on. Again, your side walls, you want to check any usage, cracks, drying. If you dropped any types of fluids like brake fluid and stuff like that on your tire, that can be really bad. Any type of alcohol-based fluid can be really bad, just because it'll soak the rubber, dry it out, crack it, and then you'll have weak spots in your tire. Controls, that is your clutch cable, your brakes, your throttle, all the fun stuff that controls your bike. So the clutch cable, make sure you don't have too much free play. A little bit of free play is good. You hear that click, make sure you tighten it, whatever is good for the rider. On the throttle, make sure that you can crack it all the way back. It will spring back on its own. It's not jammed, no sand or anything in there. Your gears, your bottom brake, test your rear brake, test your gears, shift through them, make sure that they work properly. When you're doing that on a street bike, same thing. You might not get sand as you would on a dirt bike, but still check for any free play. If you've got hydraulic controls, make sure that your levels are between your high and low range, and you've got enough fluid in your hydraulic controls. Now on the street bikes, you will have your turn signals, headlight, tail light. On the off-road bikes, some will, some won't have them. Most of them don't have turn signals. So what you want to do is actually turn it on. Put your signal on the one side, make sure it works. The other side, check the rear signals as you're doing also. Make sure your rear signals work. Then touch your brake, make sure your brake light works. And then your high beams and low beams on make sure that they activate and deactivate. And that's it for electrical. Now we'll talk about the oil and fluids on your bike. All right, so on an off-road bike, a dirt bike, what you want to do is you can actually check your fluid, your oil down here on a dipstick. You make sure the color is nice and clean, it's not all dark and gritty. Close it up properly. It's an air-cooled dirt bike, so you don't have a coolant fluid to check, but you do want to check your brakes fluid, which is right up here. Keep your bike up nice and center so it's level. Then you just check your high and lower limits on your master cylinder. So on street bikes, your master cylinder, your upper and lower levels are right here for your rear brake. Your actual oil level is there's a sight glass. What you want to do is make sure your bike is level and that your oil sits between your upper and lower limits on the sight glass itself. And then your radiator is actually on the inside here. Open up the cap, check that it's nice and topped off with your bike being level. Okay, for the chassis part of TCLOC, we're going to look at the actual frame itself. Take a good look all around the frame, any welds, any joints. These are usually your weaker spots, so if you hit something, if you put a lot of stress on the bike, that's usually where damage will be done. Make sure the frame is not bent, dents, anything funny at all. Check your suspension while you're doing this in the back. Sit on the bike, make sure it goes up and down in the front, put your weight on your front forks, put your front brake on, make sure it springs back up, there's nothing funny. When you're checking your chassis, look at your chain. Put your dirt bike up on a stand, your street bike up on a center stand, roll your chain around, look for any rust, wear spots, any weird dents, gouges in the chain. This is your main drive. If this goes while you're going, you're not going anywhere. So make sure you take proper care of your chain. Kickstands, what you want to look for your kickstand is you want to check them, make sure they're not loose. They can support the weight of the bike. There's no weird dents, bends or anything like that in the kickstand itself. Other than that, there's an actual kill switch wired into the street bike kickstands, which what you got to do is put your bike in gear, start it up, and then put your kickstand down, make sure that wire stops your bike. Now that we've covered the walk around on both the off-road and the street bike, remember, always check your manufacturer's manual for your actual walk around for your bike specifically. Other than that, stay safe, keep both tires on the ground.